Hi, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here to join me for this masterclass on the Four Noble Truths of the Enlightened. How to understand these fundamental teachings of Buddha. These teachings will completely change how you view yourself and the world around you. Also, how you understand your experiences of suffering and happiness, and how you can be happier every day. Every single one of Buddha's teachings are designed for you to think differently, because how you think determines how you feel and what you experience in your world. Your mind is so extraordinarily powerful and important, and how you think is the most important, the most critical aspect of your entire life. Once you understand mind and the power of mind, your entire life will change dramatically. I'm so excited and happy to have this opportunity to bring these teachings to you today. When Buddha taught the Four Enlightened Truths, the story is truly extraordinary. These are the first teachings that Buddha gave after he became a fully enlightened, omniscient Buddha. After Buddha attained vast awakening in India, in Bodh Gaya, beneath the Bodhi tree, it was not until 49 days after his initial enlightenment that he ventured out from beneath the Bodhi tree to find his 5 best friends who had been with him since he was in the palace and since he was a child. And they came with him and stayed with him even through the difficulties of his ascetic practices that he underwent for 6 years in meditation that culminated beneath the Bodhi tree. But his 5 friends had left him because once he had taken some food and bathed himself, it seemed as though he had not only given up the enjoyments of the palace, but he had also given up the austerities of the ascetic life. And his friends were totally just done with him at that time. They thought, this guy, what is he doing? We followed him everywhere, but now enough is enough. He's given up every possible thing in this world. And what do we have to show for it? So they abandoned him. They abandoned the Buddha when the Buddha went to go sit beneath the Bodhi tree. They didn't understand actually that he was on the brink of the greatest breakthrough a human being can accomplish in this lifetime. So after 49 days, now Buddha is Buddha. And Buddha had attained awakened omniscience, true happiness. With this knowing, Buddha found these 5 friends of his. He went to them and found them in Deer Park in Varanasi. And at first when they saw him, they didn't want to even stand up. They think, oh, here's this, Siddhartha's coming. He gave up everything, and we don't show him any respect. If he really wants to come and sit down with us, it's fine. But don't stand up for him. Don't show him any respect. He's not worth it anymore. So don't bother with this guy. But as soon as Buddha approached them, they saw him shining light in a radiance and a glow and a glory that was so extraordinary, that was so beyond anything that they had ever seen. They all immediately stood up and went to him to greet him enthusiastically. And they went to the Buddha in awe and reverence, even after having developed such kind of dismissive thinking towards him. And they approached him and they asked him, did you get deathless wisdom? Did you achieve this? And Buddha said, yes, I achieved this. And they're so excited, they're so happy, and they say, come, 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 sit down here, have something to eat. Venerable, honorable one, blessed one. We're so happy to see you. How extraordinary, you attained this accomplishment. And Buddha sat down and taught to them at that time. And one by one, Buddha revealed to them the truths of the enlightened. They saw themselves. The first teaching of the Buddha are these truths of the enlightened. It's the truth of the enlightened, because it is that which those enlightened beings know. Kaundinya being the first of the 5 disciples to realize this in his own mind. When he sat in the presence of the Buddha, he realized this is the truth of the enlightened regarding suffering. Buddha, those are the words of the Buddha. The Buddha said that, pointing out his realization. You understand what is suffering. You realize that. This is the truth of the enlightened regarding suffering. And then as his meditation developed, he understood this is the truth of the enlightened regarding causes. This is the truth of the enlightened regarding cessation. This is the truth of the enlightened regarding the path. These words that Buddha spoke, he said no more than that, because it was the wisdom realization that these first 5 disciples developed in their own minds. They saw the truth. Sometimes you may see these teachings and they say, the truth of suffering. It is not true. Suffering is not true. That's so important to understand. What is true is that there is suffering. That is undeniable. Undeniable by any human being, any being in this world, there is suffering. Birth is suffering. Sickness is suffering. Old age is suffering. Death is suffering. Being separated from what you love, or meeting with what you don't want. This is suffering. We know this. There's no candy coating this or trying to make it lighter or better. We are accepting the simple situation of human existence, and it is a shared existence. We understand each other. We know headache is a headache. We know sickness is sickness. Pain is pain. We know that. Loss is loss. There is suffering in this world. And we come to recognize that and understand that first. And when we understand that, not only is there suffering, but there are causes for this suffering. Everybody can understand there is suffering in this world. This is not something new. But what are the causes of suffering? This is something that is not understood or taught by others in a clear and understandable way. The Buddha taught the causes of suffering. And in order to understand the causes of suffering, you must understand what is mind and what is the power of mind. Or rather, it is better to call mind thinking. Because mind is not something, but it is dynamic. It is choosing, knowing, grasping, thinking. Every moment, we're thinking. We are thinking. Not that we are doing thinking, but actually that thinking is you. And every moment of thinking has a power. You can call this the energy of thinking, the power of thinking, the education of thinking. Because when you think, there's an imprint, a memory. These are all synonyms. Now, of the multitudes of ways that we can think in any moment, we can simply break that down into two: positive or negative. Negative thinking creates negative power, a negative imprint. This is called negative karma in Sanskrit. And that negative karma results in suffering. Suffering isn't random. Suffering isn't bestowed on you by anyone else. The causes of suffering are created only in our own minds. My negative thinking is the cause of my suffering and a condition of all others' suffering. Every single one of us is connected. We are connected to each other. Our minds are connected to each and every other being in this world and all universes. Mind has immeasurable power. So every moment you have negative thinking, you have anger, jealousy, greed, pride, or ignorance. These are the 5 negative thinkings. Every moment of negative thinking, you create the cause of your suffering and are a condition of others' suffering. You have power to choose either to have positive thinking or negative thinking. You have the power to choose in every moment because the quality of thinking is choosing. And when you understand what is suffering, what are the causes of suffering, you can choose to abandon the causes of suffering. And you can choose to engage in the causes of happiness. So the first 2 truths taught by Buddha are suffering and the causes of suffering. We need to know our situation right now. We need to know we're in danger. Actually, there is a danger in this world. Suffering is dangerous. And we want to avoid that suffering in any means possible. Every single person in this world, everything that they're doing is to avoid suffering and to go towards happiness. Even people who are engaging in violent acts, harmful acts towards themselves and others, they too are seeking happiness and avoiding suffering, but they do not understand what is suffering. All too often we place the blame on others, other people, other phenomena, experiences. That thing, that person is making me suffering. The news makes me suffer. The virus is making me suffer. That guy is making me suffer. It's not true. Nobody is making you suffer. Only your mind is making you suffer, because some people will experience the exact same thing and they'll be totally at peace and totally happy. Why is that? Because thinking is choosing. Every moment we have the choice to either think negatively or to think positively. The third truth is the truth of the Enlightened regarding cessation. Sometimes you can say this is the truth regarding happiness, because really it is talking about true happiness, not temporary happiness. But when we focus on happiness, there's a bit of a side effect that's possible, because greed is one of the 5 negative thinking. Greed is misunderstanding happiness and the causes of happiness. When we misunderstand happiness, we think that something, money, relationships, position, something will make us happy. But actually, there is no thing that will make us happy. Only 5. Same. 5 things make us suffer. 5 things also make us happy. These are still nowhere else but within our own minds. Renunciation, compassion, faith, love, and wisdom. This is the 5 positive thinking. There's nothing else that will make you happy. The word cessation is very special. It's a very special term that the Buddha uses, meaning the cessation of negative thinking. When you're totally free of negative thinking, then you're happy. Just think, you're free from the causes of suffering. So naturally, you'll be happy. If you do not have any cause or condition of suffering, what's left to be there? Happiness, right? So the cessation of suffering is happiness. It just depends on what side you're looking at. There's so much happiness in this world too. We can see that every day. There is happiness in this life. But if you think that things or experiences or people are your happiness, that happiness is not stable. It won't stay with you for long. It will change. It will become something else, and often it becomes something suffering. It's only temporary. So when you have happiness, be grateful for that. Celebrate that. And that will help that to increase. When you see a flower, you're happy to see the flower. You think, oh, so beautiful, but you don't think, I must keep this flower forever. And you just crush it in your hands and then it immediately disappears. It doesn't work. You need to enjoy it in the moment, lightheartedly enjoy your happiness. And then that way you will be able to experience happiness. You can remember that happiness many times. Be grateful for that many times. It doesn't need to be something that will stay for just a moment, because happiness is so fleeting. This life is so fleeting, so temporary. And the purpose of our life is to be happy. So how do we do that? Decreasing our negative thinking is happiness. So when we're free from negative thinking, when we're free from the causes of suffering, the conditions cannot harm us. All of these external experiences, people, viruses, problems, these are all external conditions. Only conditions. Everything outside of ourselves is only a condition. Our mind are the creators of our happiness and suffering. And I cannot make you happy either, but I can be a condition of your happiness. And actually, these teachings are very similar to the causes of your happiness, because listening to this, understanding this, experiencing and realizing these teachings, of course, this is in your mind. You need that. Because when you understand, experience, and realize the true meaning of these teachings, that is a cause of your happiness. But I'm only the condition. My voice is a condition for you to think about it, to understand it. But it's really close to being a cause for you. So I'm so happy to share this with you. It's so important that we understand our minds. We understand the power of our mind. Because when we understand that, we become powerful. We have control of our happiness and suffering, and that's so important in this world, because all too often we give our control to others. We allow others to have the ability to make us suffer, or we give that ability to others to make us happy. And it cannot be like that. When we do that, then we are not happy. So recognizing what is happiness and the causes of happiness, the fourth truth of the Enlightened, is regarding the causes of happiness. And those 5 positive thinking, only, that is the cause of our happiness. So what we're going to do in the next 5 minutes, you're going to take these 5 minutes to look over what you've learned in this session. This is a powerful concept that can fundamentally change your life. Your mind has immeasurable capacity. Your mind has unlimited power. Take back that power. What does it mean to your life? Just think about it. What does it mean to your life if it's true that your thinking is the creator of your suffering and the creator of your happiness? When you're angry, that is the creator of your suffering. And when you love others, that is the creator of your happiness. What does that mean to your life if that is totally true? How would your life change? Think about that. 5 minutes in meditation, and let your world open up to greater joy and freedom through the practice of the Four Noble Truths of the Enlightened.